How's it going? So today on BK Sport, we are back for another BK Sport Controversy Fridays. I am keen for this one because, you know, this was actually a really close vote. Usually you guys really want one specific option. Don't know what I'm talking about. You guys get the decision to make for these BK Sport Controversy Fridays. Obviously, as you can see in the title, we're going to be talking about will women's sport ever be as big or bigger than men's sport? And this is going to be a very controversial topic, and that's what we're here for, BK Sport Controversy Fridays. What we do with these videos, if you aren't aware, basically we have one side, we have another side, and then we kind of try and form a middle ground. And the middle ground's not necessarily right, but it's right in my mind, right? So if you have a differing opinion, go down in the comment section. I love seeing your opinions every single week about every topic that we have. Let's get down to the straight up discussion and let's find out whether we think that women's sport could ever be bigger or just as big as men's sport. To start us off, guys, let's discuss men's sport and why it is currently bigger and why everyone enjoys it a lot more right now currently. So men's sport, you know, it's pretty simple, man. It's honestly pretty simple. It's been going for hundreds of years. It has been a focal point. Back in the day, it wasn't necessarily appropriate for women to be performing in sports and playing in sports. And you never heard about it, you never really saw it because obviously back in the 50s and before that, it was very sexist times, you know, where, you know, women were regarded as like, you know, in the kitchen and men were out doing the work. So I'm not saying that to offend anyone. That's just how it was back in the day, before there was a whole, you know, feminism movement and sexist movement. Back in the day, it was very hard times for women in that regard. But in the same sense, that's just how times were, and although it was very difficult for women to have a voice, they didn't have a voice back then. They weren't able to do anything really besides, you know, be the stay-at-home mother that everyone kind of related to women at the time. They never had that opportunity to go out and play sports as such. That's the starting point for all this. The groundwork hasn't been there because they weren't really able or allowed to have that groundwork already there. For example, the rugby league. Rugby league has been around since 1908. Football's been around for centuries. AFL's been around since the 1800s. You know what I mean? And they're all men's sport because, you know, it was socially acceptable. It was an acceptable time for men to go out and perform in sports. So obviously, it's had its groundwork. It's definitely grown, and everyone loves sport because of the brutality of it. They love sport because of the competition of it, and it's just kind of, it's always been thought as a men's thing, and it's just not the case. It's not the case, but back then it was the case. The next topic that I want to bring up is the fact that people think that, you know, men, well, it's not even really a think, it's a fact. It's a fact that the men's bodily structure is actually built to be faster, to be stronger, and I know there's going to be a lot of people out there, a lot of women out there who are like bodybuilders, for example, who are like, oh, well, I'm damn well strong. Yes, but in the same sense, the bodily structure of a male is actually statistically and factually meant to be, you know, faster, meant to be stronger, meant to be all that physicality stuff, all the big physical stuff. So that's why a lot of people denigrate the women's side of things, because they feel like the men's part is, for example, rugby league. People love rugby league because of the brutality, you know, the big tackles, the hard hits. A lot of people enjoy the fact that these guys, these big dudes who have just like, they've done their whole lives to be as muscly as they can, as big as they can, and they're just running full pace into each other. And in football, everyone wants to see, you know, those pacey players, really fast-paced, energetic, and they feel like that's definitely more attributed to men. It's literally factually correct that men are, on average, better physically than women. And that's why the general consensus is men's sport is better to watch, because they feel like it's the peak of physicality, it's the peak of human nature, and they feel it's the peak of the bodily structure of a human. And that's why I feel like over time men have been preferential as well, because they feel like it is the peak of physicality. So basically, to summarize those two first points about why men's sport is currently the biggest and why it is bigger, is that the first one is that it's basically not been ingrained into the minds. We haven't grown up with women being socially acceptable, allowed to play sport on a professional scale. And with that, you know, no one's really used to it, no one's really had the chance to experience it, and we're only really just getting a chance to experience it now with this whole, you know, feminism movement and the fact of equal rights. So that's what we're really starting to see as a big point now. We'll get into that in a second. Number two was the physicality factor. The fact that a lot of people think that men have the ultimate bodily structure for sport and the physicality side of sport, and they feel like they want to watch the more physical human go head to head together and show off the best of the best. Now let's talk about why women's sport is definitely on the up and why people are starting to really enjoy watching women's sport. Just recently, as in literally it ended last week, the FIFA Women's World Cup was on. Now this was a huge deal, you know, everyone was getting behind, well not everyone, but a lot of people were getting behind it. And it's the first time I've really seen a lot of people genuinely give a shit about women's sport as a whole. You know, I've seen it growing with rugby league in Australia, slowly, very, very slowly. You know, the sevens, the rugby sevens around the world, they're really putting an emphasis on growing the women's sevens game. FIFA Women's World Cup did an excellent job of really showing off the skills and the physicality of what women do possess. So why does women's sport deserve to be just as big, if not bigger, than men's sport? Well, in regards to, say, the FIFA World Cup that I've literally just watched, it was actually incredible to watch. You know, it wasn't as fast as a men's game. It wasn't as there was the physical aspects of it, but I still enjoyed it. I still thought it was awesome, you know? Just because the physicality isn't as brutal as the men, there is still physicality there, and I respect it for what it is, man. Like I really enjoyed watching it, you know. The skill was there. It's still a growing sport, mind you. So the funding's not really there. We'll get into this in a second because the equal pay thing will definitely be discussed. But the funding's not there, so the training system or the youth system and women's as a whole hasn't reached its peak yet. It hasn't reached its true potential. So we're still seeing it forming right now. So although the skills might not technically be there compared to the men right now, and although the structure of a female is completely and utterly different to a man, and that's different, that's going to literally make the game completely different, that doesn't mean that it's less enjoyable in reality. You know, it's still a game of football. I love sport, man. I don't give a shit whether it's a man playing or women playing. I just care about the sport and watching it and enjoying it. To summarize that, basically, it's still enjoyable, man. The sport is still enjoyable, and even though it's not men playing, it's still a growing phenomenon. It's still a growing game. Women's haven't reached anywhere near their peak yet, and yet it's enjoyable. You know, they're going to continue to grow with the facilities. They're given the same pay. Like I said, we'll get to that in a second. If they're given the same funding, everything will continue to grow. Now, I'm not saying that a women's team is going to go and beat a men's team. I'm not saying that because I don't believe that's going to be the case. I'm sorry, I don't believe that the USA national team, women's team, is going to go out and beat the men's French team in football. I'm sorry, but that's just, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry. I'd love to see it. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. I'm not trying to be sexist here. I'm just saying, prove me wrong. I just feel like there's definitely been a lot more growth in men's sport to this point in which they're going to actually probably smash them. I'm sorry, but that's just straight up the point. But the fact of the matter is that they should be given the chance. I'd love to see it happen. I'd love to see them get given a chance and to really show it. And if women won or made it close, I'd really appreciate that. Like I said, don't think it'll happen, but I would really love to see how far the women's game has come. You know, I have no interest in denigrating a woman for just because she's a woman. I have no interest in denigrating a person of color because they're of color. It's literally pretty much the same thing. It is literally pretty much the same thing. That's racism, that's sexism, but the point of the matter is that you're still denigrating somebody for what they are, who they are, how they look. You know what I mean? It's literally the same point. Everyone's talking about the FIFA Women's World Cup. No, everyone's talking about the growth of women's game. The sevens, like I said, focal point, and it's exciting times for women, man. It's exciting times for women, and I'm excited because I love sport in general. Big house sport, love sport in general. So the point of the matter is that it's really exciting to see women being able to have their voice. Everything is growing and evolutionizing, and we're really seeing, you know, equal rights everywhere, and it's really good. And I know that the feminism movement will continue to go, and sometimes I feel like it is going a little bit too far, and I feel like they're trying to get more rights than men, but that's not the basis of it. If you look at the actual basis and the point of the feminism movement, it is literally to create equal rights. Like I said, some people take it too far, and some people want more than others, which then kind of defeats the purpose, and you're just kind of doing it as a revenge thing against men. The point of the matter is that women's sport is definitely enjoyable to watch. Not as enjoyable right now as men's, but it definitely has the potential. And that's where I'm going to lead into the next topic, which is actually kind of answering the question in the title, which is, will women's sport ever be just as big, if not bigger, than men's sport? And my answer is, I believe that eventually it will be just as big. I don't believe it'll ever be bigger because I feel like that physicality aspect will always be a key thing. And I will always think that people will always appreciate that physicality aspect of it. Like I just said, I feel like women's sport will eventually be just as big. You know, look at why I keep talking talking about Titans in previous videos in regards to they got started on the Gold Coast and they had no fans, and they've got to wait decades before people start to grow up with the same thought process of being a Titans fan. They're from the Gold Coast and, you know, they'll eventually become a Titans fan. I keep saying this because they're young, it's ingrained into their system that the Titans are there and they become a Titans fan. I feel like right now it's very difficult for a lot of people to adjust to the fact of women really just kind of going bang like a volcano in this industry. You know, it's a crazy phenomenon right now. It's just come out of nowhere, and I don't think people really truly understand the impact that it's having in general. Women's sport is fantastic. It is currently the peak of what women's sport is. You know, the Women's World Cup is the best of the best. It's not as great as it probably can be in the future. You know, it'll always evolve, it'll always become bigger, but the point of the matter is that it's the best of the best. So it's like if you're watching rugby league and you're watching the men go together, go at it to see the best physical specimen in the sport, the best team in the sport, really boils down to the fact of who's the most physical player, who's the most physical to win the game, and who's the most skillful to win the game, and who's the most pacey to win the game. And that's all in regards to men. So if you're watching men's Olympics, basically you can kind of tie that in and say, you know what, I'm looking to see who's the best man here. And that's exactly the same over here. Who are the best women? Who is the best woman sports star? Who is the best coming together to be the ultimate woman specimen? Because honestly, it's just exactly the same. It's just honestly the same sport. It's honestly the same sport, just with women. So you're looking at the best of the best over here, and you're looking at the best of the best over here. So just appreciate it for what it is. Despite the physicality factor, appreciate that the women is still the peak. It's still the peak of women's sport as we currently know it. And with the men, it's the peak of men's sport as we currently know it. And now I'm gonna add in this topic in just alongside this because I think it's relevant. I think it's relevant, and this is gonna be controversial here. This is honestly gonna be controversial right now. I don't believe right now, right at this current stage, that women deserve the same pay, equal pay. In regards to sport, in regards to this situation, I don't believe they deserve equal pay just yet. And the reason I say this is because revenue. Okay? I say this because of sponsorships. I say this because of advertisements. The women's game is not ready yet. It hasn't been given the green light in regards to these big sponsors who know the viewership is there, because the viewership isn't there yet. It's not there yet. You're simply not bringing in the viewers just yet because it's a new phenomenon. Don't just kind of rush to be saying it's sexist that the Women's World Cup team, the Women's US team is earning less than the men's team, because it does make sense. It honestly makes sense. Why? Because advertisement, sponsorships, and the fact that companies are willing to put their money into men's sport right now in the Men's World Cup, because, I'm sorry, people watch it more right now. Right now, right in this current stance, men's sport brings in way more viewership numbers. Way more viewership numbers. A lot more people are going to see their company. This is really simple stuff here, guys. A lot more people are going to see their company and their logo by sponsoring the men's team because there's so much more viewers. Really simple here. Really simple. I'm an advocate. I'm definitely an advocate for the women's game growing. But I'm not an advocate right now until you get the viewership to be able to get those sponsors. Now, I'm going to give you a statistic right now, and I really don't like talking about statistics here, but I know this one off the top of my head. I know it because I've seen it before, and unfortunately, it's a key statistic as to why the advertising and the sponsorships are just not up to standard. It's not up to, it's not par. It's not equal. Okay, so of course they're getting more money here, so they're able to distribute money a lot more differently. The Russia World Cup last year for the men brought in, I think it was $6 billion. $6 billion US dollars. $6 billion US dollars, I believe, was the ultimate factor there, the ultimate end of the financial revenue gain. How much did the women earn in comparison? This year, right now, what they're kind of summarizing as to what the Women's World Cup has just earned. 131 million. Okay, let's take that in for a second. 6 billion compared to roughly 130 million. It says it in itself. It says it right there. So it's like, yes, you put in just as much effort. Yes, you are working really, really hard. Yes, you are doing everything in your ability to grow the game and make it better. But in reality, you're like the ancestry of this sport right now. You're creating the core, the basis. You're creating the basis of this sport right now. You are the first people to really be socially acceptable and bring the growth of women's sport to the forefront. So you can't just expect to be on equal pay straight away when, I'm sorry, you're not getting the viewers, and although it can eventually be getting the viewers, you're not getting the viewers yet. As long as you lay those foundation stones, you will eventually get there. So in summary of this entire video, this entire very touchy video that has been very difficult to talk about, the question at hand, the actual question at hand, yes, 100%, just as big, eventually. I don't know how long it'll take. I don't know whether it'll be 20 years, 50 years, 100 years. I don't know, but it'll take some time. So relax, calm down, and eventually it will. I know that people want it now. Everyone in today's life, everything in every person's life right now is about being successful now, having what you want now, and everything being good to go right now. But it just doesn't work like that way in life. It doesn't work that way in life, and everyone should understand that. Over here, it does grow, it does get more viewers, it does get more pay. This is behind the financial monetary reward of being in this career path is behind because of this. Once this grows, this lifts. As this grows, this lifts as well. So basically it's like a tree. This is the root. This is the root. The sport and the growth of the sport is the root of the tree, and on top of the leaves is the money. So the more the tree grows, the more the root grows and blossoms out into this incredible tree, that's when you'll start seeing the advertisers come in which you'll be able to see more money and create a more equal pay for men and women. But anyway guys, that is going to do us for today's video. If you did like it, please give me a thumbs up so I know that you're enjoying this content. Today's one, I did really enjoy talking about it. I hope you guys got my point. I hope you guys saw where I was coming from. If you aren't a part of the BK Army yet and you haven't subscribed yet, well damn, what are you doing, son? What are you doing? Go down there right now. Right now, okay? Go down there right now, hit the subscribe button, because obviously you love your sport. You love every type of sport. Even women's sport. You know, we could be doing game day experience vlogs at women's games. I don't know. If you guys want it, let me know in the comment section. If you want me to go and film a game day experience vlog at a women's sporting match, I will genuinely do it. I just want to see that you guys are interested in it. So go down there into the comment section below and let me know that you're interested, and I definitely want to see the thumbs up, and then I'll definitely go, because I want to see that the interest is there. And if you want to be a part of the poll for next week's video, obviously you need to have the little ding-a-ling-a-ling notification bell on so you get a notification every time we upload, and make sure you click on it and make sure it's all notifications, because if you want to be able to vote, it's on the community tab, and if you're only on for video notifications, then unfortunately you're just not going to get the notification. So you've got to click onto it, make sure you get all notifications, and you can vote on next week's topic. Anyway guys, I'm gonna stop talking. I've talked for long enough now. I've talked bloody too long. I'm too long. I'm going inside. I'm going done. I'm done. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. See ya.